Movies! The Martian was a lot of fun. I think as far as streamlining a book like this, which is so heavy on like science and like minute detail, I think the movie in its like, what was it, like 2.5 hours long, within that runtime, I think it did the best job that it could to tell this story efficiently and well and in an interesting way. A couple of people have pointed out, and I agree with this, that the movie is kind of lacking in the sense of loneliness, the sense of isolation that the book does a pretty good job of conveying. I think I was expecting something a little bit like what Danny Boyle did in 127 Hours, where you really feel the isolation and terror of like being trapped, you know, under those rocks for James Franco. And any movie that can make you care that much about James Franco. Just kidding. I have no problem with the guy. But Matt Damon was really well cast in this. I thought he brought the right level of humor, intelligence, determination to the whole thing. I really want to make a mashup, though, of The Martian with Interstellar. Just like somehow putting those two characters together could be a lot of fun. And I thought everything was very well cast. I was very surprised by how large the Hermes was. I was thinking, like, if we start going to Mars, like, there's no way we're going to be affording getting something with that much space. Like, all of that real estate, it's probably like $1 million per square foot. So, you know, that's going to be really carefully considered kind of stuff. Probably more than $1 million per square foot. And the fact that they're just kind of like floating around through all these tunnels and everything. I mean, I'm sure it works visually, but yeah, I'm not sure about that. Ridley Scott brought a lot of that kind of like tension that he's so good at in movies like Alien to this, much better than Prometheus. You know, this is a much more realistic movie where, unlike Prometheus, where you have a lot of characters behaving, who are supposed to be smart, but behaving in very dumb ways, it's much more satisfying to have something like this where you have very smart people coming up with very smart solutions. I find that much more satisfying than like, oh no, just watching something with dread of like, what's going to happen when they touch the alien cobra? Oh my god, it bit them! Yeah, I'd much rather see people doing their job well and then kind of, you know, what's cool about this too is there's not really an antagonist. Like Mars is the antagonist, the total improbability of retrieving someone who doesn't have any food or real life support. That was the real, you know, powerful thing there. So yeah, anyway, I really thought the movie was well done. I liked it a lot. Let's give it 5 stars. 5 stars with a confidence of 4. Same as the book. There were certain things that were not conveyed as well as in the book. Certain things came to life more and were more exciting. Obviously the visuals, really great to see Mars and these spaceships and the acting. It all kind of brought the thing to life. So that was great. Next up. I watched the movie AI, Artificial Intelligence, for the first time since it was in theaters. I remember watching this as a kid, thinking it was dreadfully boring, thinking like, this is a Steven Spielberg movie? And then hearing, of course, that, you know, oh, it was actually like a Stanley Kubrick movie, and he kind of died, and so like Steven Spielberg was like, oh, Stanley Kubrick was my friend, I'll take up the mantle and do this movie, and he wrote the script and all that. And so as a kid, I just didn't really get it. Now, as an adult, especially one of the kid, this movie kind of destroyed me. Like, it wasn't a fantastic movie, but the parts that worked really worked. I mean, the directions it goes, especially toward the end, like, you know, Haley Joel Osment as this little cyborg robot. I don't want to give it away for anyone who hasn't, like, watched that much, but just this, you know, he has this determination. He's Pinocchio, and he really wants to be a real boy. And Haley Joel Osment brings that same acting and, you know, that pulling on your heartstrings that he had in The Sixth Sense, and my god, you feel for this little robot, and the kitty that he's playing with is such a jerk, and you hate that kid, and that's a real boy. So, you know, the movie does a great job of telling you who to like and who not to like. And you go through all the other androids and robots, and the whole backstory of how we got to this point is really cool. You know, humans did this too quickly. I think that's the case of what a lot of things humans do. But then the direction it goes, where it's like, I started to think to myself, like, how can this possibly resolve itself? He is trying to become a real boy and going after, you know, a blue fairy that doesn't actually exist. What can possibly happen to make this a satisfying ending? And the ending is crazy. It's insane, but I really like it. I think it makes a lot of sense in the context of the story. And yeah, it made me cry. Yeah, it made me cry. I was holding this little guy and being like, oh, I'm just so glad you're real and that we're okay and that we can be together. But yeah, AI, if you haven't seen it in a while, check it out again. Give that movie another chance. I saw it on HBO Go. I bet you could buy it for like $1 or something at a dollar bin movie place. Oh, also, I feel bad. I don't think I mentioned this a few weeks ago. Very briefly, I watched Beasts of No Nation on Netflix. Idris Elba. I listened to a podcast today with Cary Fukunaga, who directed the first season of True Detective, directed this. They filmed it down in actual like West Africa. People got malaria, dysentery, very fraught production. But man, casting all these kids, really amazing. Incredible performances. The kid, whose name I think is Abraham, who played the main character, phenomenal job. Like, it's incredible none of these kids were professional actors before. And the movie is brutal, it's devastating, but it doesn't quite reach that level of unwatchability that sometimes things dealing with dark subject matter like this, like child soldiers, can do. Like, this is a movie I would watch again. Something like Schindler's List, like, I watched that once and I think I got everything I needed from it, and I don't, that's not the kind of thing where it's like, I'm in the mood to watch Schindler's List now. This is a movie that I actually could imagine myself being like, you know what? There's a lot of meat still on that movie. Like, I want to go try to digest more of that. I could totally see myself watching it again. So yeah, I'll just say, hey, Idris Elba, fantastic job. All these kids, fantastic job. It's a dark movie, but there's also a lot of laughs. Let me be clear. It is not a comedy, but even in the darkest kind of moments of this story, people adapt. Kids are kids. Idris Elba is very comfortable as the Commandante, and there are moments that you will get a chuckle out of despite the horrific situation it's in. Props to everyone involved in that production. Props to Netflix for being like, yeah, let's fund this. And I'm sure part of it is just them very shrewdly being like, let's get some Oscars. But, if that happens, hey, more power to them. We need more movies like this, especially stories that are told this well, especially looking at something like Metal Gear Solid 5, which was like, we're going to deal with taboo subjects like child soldiers, and then all it did was have child soldiers, but with no real message or perspective on the whole thing. This was 100 times better of a take on all that. So there we go. That's movies for now. And I give the movie 4 stars with a confidence 4.